Good evening, my name is Lázaro Duarte, and my home is located in the vicinity of the Chapada do Apodi, a region that stretches between the states of Rio Grande do Norte and Ceará. Like my ancestors, father and grandfather, we live with the famous legend of a creature that transcends the terror of the werewolf and the Caipora, or any other entity linked to the supernatural. Pedro Labatut, a general of unparalleled cruelty who once waged bloody battles in these lands, is the central figure of this somber narrative. The natives believed that the beast that still haunts the Chapada today is the cursed personification of the general, transformed into a hellish being thirsty for blood, who feeds on unwary hunters, lost children, and unsuspecting travelers who dare to venture into the dense forests. My grandfather had a terrifying encounter with this creature, and it is this agonizing experience that I now share with you. At that time, I was approximately 40 years old and assisted my father in the field work. Hard times, as the meager harvest barely met our basic needs. We resorted to other activities to supplement our income, such as fishing, hunting, and firewood gathering. My father sometimes overdid it with drinking, and his words under the influence of alcohol required my intervention to avoid unnecessary conflicts. Carrying a knife was common, and I, constantly traveling between the field and the village, did not forego this precaution. My house was next to my father's, and one day a family friend came to me, informing me that my father was being assaulted in a local bar for refusing to buy a drink for a group of strangers. Fury instantly overcame me, and wielding a sharp knife, I rushed to help my father. As I approached the bar, I saw my father on the ground, being subjected to cowardly and humiliating kicks. He, already old and frail, was attacked by a young and strong man, accompanied by two cronies. Without hesitation, I lunged at the aggressor, delivering a precise knife strike to his shoulder, causing him a deep and painful wound. The other two lunged at me, but anger made me invincible. Seeing my determination and the ferocity of my blows, they hastily retreated, taking their injured companion and vowing revenge. I took my father home, supporting him in my arms, and prepared for the possible reprisals that might ensue in the following days. I tried to obtain information about the aggressors, but the bar owner was unaware of their identities and whereabouts. My father recovered at home under my care, and I continued working in the field, always vigilant and attentive to any sign of danger. I knew that the confrontation was imminent, and that the strangers would return sooner or later. I remember that Wednesday as if it were yesterday. As I began work in the field at dawn, I heard a distant scream coming from the depths of the forest. The scream, sharp and shrill, echoed 3 times and abruptly silenced. Near lunchtime, the scream echoed again, more intense and closer, making me get up to investigate the origin of the sound. Normally, I rested after lunch to regain my energy, but the disturbing screams prevented me from relaxing. Observing the nearby hill, I realized that the sounds were coming from there, as if something was descending the slope towards me. Apprehension took hold of me, and I decided to return home, abandoning the work in the field. However, on the way back, I came across my father's aggressors, who were patiently waiting for me on the road. They had set up an ambush, hiding behind trees and bushes. Perceiving the danger, I veered into the dense forest, seeking an alternative route home. However, the memory of the terrifying screams I had heard during the day made me hesitate to enter the closed forest. I decided to hide in the shadow of a leafy bush, waiting for nightfall or the men to leave. Night fell, and they remained on the lookout, motionless and silent. Then, I heard dry and rhythmic knocks on tree trunks, repeated and spaced, as if someone was hitting with a stick. Without escape, I invoked divine protection, asking God to deliver me from this agonizing situation. The men finally withdrew, unaware of my presence, leaving me alone with the mysterious creature in the forest. I remained hidden, the knife in hand, ready to defend myself if necessary. The footsteps slowly approached, and a foul and nauseating odor enveloped me, permeating the air with a stench of rotten flesh and decomposition. Tears of fear and apprehension rolled down my face, and then I saw, just a few meters away, a huge and dark animal which growled with every step it took. The stories about the Labatut told by the elders stormed my mind, and I recognized the creature that moved in the shadows. Silence and prayer were my only weapons against that monstrous creature. The animal, with heavy steps that resembled the clattering of hooves and long arms that almost touched the ground, passed by me without noticing me in the darkness. When the creature had moved far enough away, I ran towards the fence, jumped over the barrier, and ran desperately to my house, where everyone was waiting for me worried. When I recounted what had happened, my father explained that the Labatut hits the tree trunks to attract its prey, mimicking the communication of hunters. When someone hits back, he runs after the sound and devours the unwary one who answered. "The call," said my father, with a grave and worried tone. I told them about the men and the ambush they had prepared, and we decided to take refuge in my uncle's house, who lived in a nearby village in Ceará. When we returned to the Chapada do Apodi, routine normalized, but the scene of that night of terror remains vivid in my memory. I admire the courage of those who venture into the forest at night, something I dare not do again. If you hear screams in the forest, run without looking back. If you hear dry and rhythmic knocks on tree trunks, do not answer, for the Labatut answers the call and devours those who dare to challenge its presence. Good night, and may the shadow of the Labatut never reach you.